Two more Eagles make the NFL Top 100. Find out who, plus which player just got absolutely paid, and the latest from the first day of Eagles training camp. All that and more, so without wasting any more time, let's dive right into it. What's up, y'all, and welcome to 2nd and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast powered by Olde City Sports Network, the best network for all your Philadelphia sports needs. This is your host, Michael Roscoe. It's the season finale of 2nd and 15 as training camp for the 2026-2027 season is officially underway, and we got a lot happening, not only with the Birds, but across the league as a whole, so we'll get into those stories right now. Okay. These first two topics are not Philly related, but they are making headlines across the league. The first of which is the Chiefs offensive coordinator's wife shot at home. So this was some shocking news. On Sunday night earlier this week, Mia Bieniemy, the wife of Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, was shot multiple times in the couple's home in Loudoun County, Virginia. According to a Wednesday update, though, from ESPN, Mia is doing great with her recovery and has exited the ICU, according to her husband, Eric. Mia is recovering from multiple gunshot wounds to her arm and chest, and the couple's own son, 27-year-old Elijah Zion, was arrested and charged with discharge of a firearm within a dwelling, use of a firearm in connection with a felony, and malicious wounding. Currently, a motive for the crime has not been determined or made public at this time, as this is an ongoing investigation, but this crime may have been the result of some type of domestic disturbance. Apparently, she was the one to call 911 to report the crime, as she was actively dealing with these life-threatening injuries. That takes some serious strength and composure to be able to make that call, not only dealing with the current injuries she's suffering from, but not knowing if anything else worse is going to happen. Thankfully, it seems like her recovery is headed in the right direction, and we are hoping for a completely smooth and full recovery for her. All right, the second non-Eagles related topic is former Cowboys quarterback arrested. So, former Cowboys quarterback and current CBS Sports analyst Tony Romo was arrested last week for operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He was pulled over for dangerous behavior on the road, including improper passing in heavy traffic, according to the Cowboys Wire. Romo mentioned that he was going to his grandparents' house after spending time at the golf course where he had, quote, zero drinks when asked by the officers about alcohol consumption. Body cam footage shows a verbal altercation between Romo and one of the female officers at the scene. Eventually, Romo is taken to another location for a field sobriety test and then refused the breath test, in which afterward he was placed under arrest for OWI, which I didn't know OWI was a thing. I thought it was DUI or DWI. But anyway, the footage also shows him stretching exaggeratedly for the field sobriety test, including bending over and using the squad car for support. His eyes are very glassy and red. He just looks disheveled. Not a good look for Romo. The situation is being treated as a civil matter as opposed to a criminal matter, and he's got a future court date coming up of September 21st. All right, now those Eagles topics, starting with training camp updates. First of the updates we have are some updated jersey numbers. Defensive back Shaun Wade is wearing number 30. Wide receiver Eric Ezukanma is wearing number 49. Ugly ass number for a wide receiver. Defensive end AJ Epineza has confirmed to be wearing number 57. Defensive tackle Zion Wilson moves from number 79 down to number 78, which is being currently shared with Miles Hinton. And offensive guard Mike Jordan is wearing number 79. Next training camp update, we already have a player on the PUP list. On Wednesday, it was reported that edge rusher Jonathan Grenard was placed on the physically unable to perform or PUP list as he's dealing with a pectoral strain suffered during weight training. As of this moment, it looks like the worst case scenario, he misses training camp, which is a bit of a blow, yes, but it's being looked at like not a serious injury. Howie Roseman doesn't seem too worried about it. And it looks like it won't prevent him from making a week 1 appearance, which is fantastic. All right. The biggest thing about this training camp that I've been seeing a lot of is this exciting look at the offense. Now, information continues to roll in. At first, at the end of the day, Wednesday, there wasn't like a ton of info about how the first practice went, considering a lot of the talk was about the Jalen Carter extension, which we'll get to later on. But one thing I noticed that some Philly sports media members were talking about towards the end of the day Wednesday was a play involving Devontae Smith. According to Elliot Shore-Park of 94 WIP, his main takeaway for the first day of training camp was one play that, quote, Eagles fans wanted to see. Quarterback Jalen Hurts made a great throw over the middle, caught by Devontae Smith with cornerback Quinyon Mitchell in coverage. He emphasized the play involving Jalen under center, play action, the crossing route and throw over the middle, and the yards after catch from Devontae Smith, despite excellent coverage from Mitchell. I'm not going to sit here and glaze over one training camp play. I'm simply just communicating a play that was talked about that seemed to summarize something that Eagles fans wanted to see, and that was some big-ass change within the offense. This change was also emphasized in an article from Dave Zangaro of NBC Sports Philadelphia. He mentioned that his observations during camp were that there was a lot of play under center, a lot of play action, a ton of pre-snap motion, as well as running back dump-offs with both Saquon Barkley and Tank Bigsby being heavily involved in not only the pass game, but the running game, of course, as well. Again, it's the first day of practice, and I got to imagine as the days continue, there's going to be some growing pains and mistakes to work through, but this is a very optimistic first day. I think I saw something about Jalen having a 76% pass completion percentage on the day, and a lot of that being over the middle, which was a big critique of him. But I just wanted to actually see the change that's been talked about a lot from Sean Mannion's hire up to this point. And today was a very optimistic and great start to actually see that offense go into play. All right, next Eagles related topic. 2 more Eagles make the NFL Top 100. Last week, we saw quarterback Jalen Hurts become the first Eagle to make this year's NFL Top 100 list. This week, we saw 2 more birds make the list, with cornerback Quinyon Mitchell landing at number 47 and linebacker Zach Bond landing at number 45. Mitchell moves up 2 spots from 49 on the 2025 list, while Zach Bond moves down 19 spots. Now, while it seems a bit steep, it's not like an uncommon trend, it seems to be, as the man above him, 49ers tight end George Kittle, moved down 15 spots on this year's list from the previous year. But anyway, it's good to see both of these players get the recognition they deserve, especially with how hard they worked to get where they are now. You got Quinyon Mitchell, who excelled in a small non-power conference school and made his NFL transition one to remember, becoming one of the best young corners in the league right now. Then you got Zach Bond, who went from a struggling edge rusher special teamer on the New Orleans Saints to being one of the best off-ball linebackers in the league right now, and with Philly playing well enough there to earn him a 3-year extension with the Birds. We're about halfway through this top 100 list at this point, and there are still players such as Saquon Barkley, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Devontae Smith, and Cooper DeJean who have not made an appearance on this list yet, so we'll see where they end up as this list continues to be developed. All right, last topic of this week's episode is Jalen Carter gets paid. Well, after much speculation throughout the offseason, it is official. All-Pro defensive tackle Jalen Carter lands a massive 4-year, $152 million contract extension, which could be worth up to $160 million, with $106 million of that in guaranteed money. This contract equates to around $38 million a year, which is a price I mentioned in a previous episode that the Birds would likely need to pay if they wanted to extend Jalen Carter. I remember saying this, I was like, I got to imagine an extension would cost the Birds between like $36 and $38 million a year. What I like about this extension is what he mentioned was most important to him during the negotiations. According to the Eagles Wire, when asked about if becoming the highest paid defensive tackle was his prerogative, he stated, quote, it was more important for me to stay in Philly. Say what you will about his on and off the field antics, I get it. But him showing that it was more important for him to remain in Philly, the team that drafted him, instead of being the highest paid player at his position, shows something about his dedication and his character. Eagles GM Howie Roseman made what seemed very unlikely possible with a little bit of extra flair. So the contract extension basically starts around the 5th year option or so, meaning the Birds will have Carter under contract through the 2031 season. This extension makes him the highest paid defensive tackle in NFL history, just shortly after that title was claimed by Titans defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons, who recently landed a 3-year, $105.8 million extension with $100 million of that in guaranteed money. What's wild about these two contracts is that Howie managed to build a contract that keeps Carter for 2 years longer and only $6 million more in guaranteed money than Simmons for Tennessee. Now, obviously, there's like a $47 million difference in the overall price, but still, I don't know how Howie does it, but who cares, because this man gets it fucking done, and that's what matters the most. Some people were wondering if this was even possible financially. Some people were wondering if it would even be worth it to trade him. Some people thought it would be better to trade him for behavioral reasons, but many people wanted this extension to get done regardless. And Roseman continues to satisfy Eagles fandom and keep young all-stars on the team locked in for years to come. With this move, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis became the most expensive defensive tackle tandem in the league after Davis received a 3-year, $78 million extension back in March. Both players will be locked in Philly together through at least the 2029 season. And despite only playing in 12 regular season games last year due to injury, mainly with the shoulder procedures, Carter racked up 33 tackles, 3 sacks, and 7 pass deflections during the 2025 season. Howie's always been a man of the trenches, and this extension further proves that philosophy. Championships are won in the trenches, and the Birds are hungry for another one. So, congrats to Jalen Carter on a monstrous and historic contract extension. Can't wait to see what more he has in store for this 2026 season. All right, y'all, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by searching at Second and 15 or by the full name Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast. You can also find the audio for each and every single episode releasing Thursday mornings on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Player FM, or wherever you get your podcasts, with the video uploading to YouTube later that same day. This episode, Second and 15, and Olde City Sports Network are brought to you by W Energy. Check out W.GG and use promo code Olde City Sports 10, all one word, for 10% off your entire order. From energy supplements to drinkware, check them out at W.GG today and use that promo code for 10% off your entire order. Once again, thanks y'all for joining in. This is Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast powered by Olde City Sports Network. And just because it's the season finale doesn't mean we're going anywhere. We'll be right back here next week for the start of season 4 of the show. So until then, don't forget to stay fly like an eagle. And as always, go Birds!